Welcome. Today's March 27th. I'm David, and today we begin part 1 of the allotment of the land of the tribes of Israel. Now, the campaigns are almost over, and Israel has secured most of the land, although not exactly like God said to. They did cross over the Jordan to possess the land, and they had great victories at Jericho, but they failed to inquire of God and suffered losses at Ai. They also failed to inquire of God concerning the Gibeonites, and now they have some of the people that God said to destroy in their midst. And the Gibeonites weren't the only ones left of the people that God marked for destruction that remained in the land. They were to destroy them for their idol worship and for their human sacrifices, not because of their ethnicity. Still, Israel failed to drive out all the Canaanites and the other peoples, and we'll see in the book of Judges that there will be consequences for this. Now, back in chapter 13 yesterday, God said to Joshua, "You're getting old, and although there's still much land to possess, I want you to portion out the land to the tribes and half the tribe of Manasseh." So, before we continue, let's just get our bearings on the land that we're talking about. Now, on your screen right now, you should see a map of modern-day Israel. Now, please excuse my cartography skills. I used a write-on map from Geography Matters because I couldn't find a map that wasn't copyrighted, so I had to draw these on myself. And you'll probably notice some spelling mistakes that I didn't catch when I put these maps together. But anyway, we're going to look today and see what God's original boundaries were for these people as he allocated the land to them. And if you think my map drawing skills are weird and my spelling mistakes, you should have listened to me read all these names out loud to Janice when we were reading our Bible. Believe me, this is the easier part. Before they crossed over the Jordan and started the conquest of the land, Israel had already destroyed 2 of the kings and kingdoms on the east side of the Jordan. Moses had portioned out that land to the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and half the tribe of Manasseh, which I'm going to refer to from this point on as East Manasseh, just to keep things straight. In chapter 15, Joshua makes an allotment on the west side of the Jordan for the tribe of Judah, shown in green, outlined on this map. We also learn that Caleb had been promised a special allotment to himself for his faithfulness in serving the Lord and believing all that God had said. Now, Rick did a great job covering this and all the details in his video yesterday, so if you haven't looked at that, please go back and watch that video. Now, the red dot on the map in Judah's portion indicates where Caleb's allotment was. Now we get to chapter 16 and 17, and the focus here is the sons of Joseph and their allotments, Ephraim and Manasseh. Now, the bulk of the reading today dealt with all the description of the boundary markers for these land allotments, so we won't go into the pronouncing of all these names, etc. Like I said, it was atrocious. But just take a look on the map as we go along. Here's a map that shows the lands allotted to Ephraim and half the tribe of Manasseh, who we will call the West Manasseh, on the west side of the Jordan. It's at the end of chapter 16 that we learn that they didn't drive out all the Canaanites who lived in Gezer, but instead they made them forced labor. And Moses had warned them what would happen and what kind of consequences they'd suffer if they didn't do what God commanded. And we will see this play out in the future. Now, something happened in chapter 17, which I found interesting. Apparently, Ephraim and West Manasseh were unhappy with the allotment that they received, and they didn't understand it at the time. They thought that they were only getting one portion of land between the 2 of them to share, and they told Joshua, "There's not enough room for us here." And he told them, "Go and finish taking possession of the land, and there'll be lots of room, and you'll get 2 portions assigned to you." Now, given that they had left some of the people in Gezer, may indicate that they stopped moving forward to take the land, or maybe they thought because they couldn't drive them out that this was as far as they could go. Who knows? Joshua tells them to finish the job and there'll be lots of room enough for all. In chapter 18, we find the people camped at Shiloh and they set up the tent of meeting. Now the rest of the tribes, they haven't received their allotments yet, but it seems to be they were holding back for some reason. Joshua says, "How long will you put off going into the land and taking possession of the land that the Lord your God has given to you?" God had told Joshua to finish giving out the allotments to the remaining tribes. So he had some of the remaining tribes pick 3 men apiece, and these men would go out and survey the land and bring back a detailed description of the land, and they would use that to determine the remaining distributions. The tribes would also draw lots to see which land goes to which tribe. And as our map shows, the first lot fell to Benjamin, which is tucked in between West Manasseh, Ephraim, and Judah. And that's where we'll end today. So you'll have to come back tomorrow for part 2 for the rest of the allotments of the land. Have a blessed day, friends, and I hope you keep reading your Bible daily and join us here on Set Sail with Grace Harbor.